Welcome to the show, Rhett.
Hello, Anna. How are you?
Oh, let's not talk about me. Like, in this economy, no. So our first question for guests, answer any way you feel comfortable, is when's the last time you worried about making your monthly nut? Like for you, it might be a while, but that will be very satisfying to me.
Oh my God. Isn't that funny? I'll probably bring her up a few times, so I'll go ahead and name check her at the top. My wife, Erica, and I talk about this a lot because we live in kind of a small town, a small college town north of Manhattan, New Paltz. And folks think, not just in New Paltz, but I think in general, that someone who's had the longevity of the career I've had and put out as many records and done weird stuff, Guardians of the Galaxy we talked about before we started taping, they assume that I must do really well. And also, if you Google, what is the net worth celebrity net worth
Rhett Miller
Oh,
net
yeah.
worth. Oh, I want to Google it right now. Can I Google it right now?
gosh, those are the worst.
It's
Okay,
insane.
I'm just gonna. That'll be fun.
I think they must figure up every penny I've ever earned in my whole life and then doubled it or
Are
whatever.
you worth $3 million, Rhett?
Yeah, which is why yesterday while walking the dog, we had a long conversation about whether we were going to be able to afford both of the kids' college tuitions this semester. So when did I last worry about making my monthly nut? I don't know, within the last 24 hours. Yeah.
Rhett, I guess I believed the hype. I guess I believed the 3 million. Your honesty is actually really welcome and appreciated because one of the things this show is about the performance of success versus what the day-to-day life of living as a person in the creative economy is and how it's so much more precarious than people realize. And yet we keep doing it and we have success and we love it.
Mm-hmm.
But society isn't built, this economy isn't built to support this kind of work.
I don't know where my kids heard it, but when they were little, they used to always repeat this joke that I must have said, that I'm so sure some great comedy writer came up with, but was they would go, country and Western in this economy? Yeah, it's a lot. You know, I recently had a vocal cord surgery that took me out
wow.
of commission. Yeah, it was scary. But I'd had a cyst on my vocal cord that kept me from singing like a large percentage of the notes to which I'd always had access since I was, cognizant of, and I've always been a singer. And so I couldn't sing like most of my falsetto notes were gone. And I recorded the vocals for this new record that I'm about to put out right before the surgery, just in case I got Julie Andrews and couldn't sing ever again. And then it worked. The surgery worked. But what it meant was 4 months of no gigs and no income.
Wow.
So that was scary. And my wife Erica had kept trying to get me to get, what's it called? The insurance, disability insurance. And
Yeah.
guess who's going to give disability insurance to a self-employed musician? Nobody. No, that's not true. Lloyd's of London was willing to do it, but it was going to be incredibly expensive and not pay very much. So, but it's been, that's probably why right now is such a tough time. I'm digging out of the hole those 4 months put me in. But, I feel good about it. I've got a lot of gigs coming up. My voice is like, name a note, Mike. I'll sing it.
C. Oh, wow.
Thank you.
That's very impressive. And also, if that had been F, I wouldn't have known the difference at all.
Do you have perfect pitch, Rhett?
God, no. No.
Okay. Is that just like practice? Because I don't know if that's a C either, but like, do you just know if it's C or do you have a little machine there?
That was actually very close to a C. Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
You outlined just now how important that the 4 month time was in terms of you not being able to do gigs, but you do a lot of different types of creative work. So how central is touring in terms of your income? Like, is that still a big piece of the pie?
Oh yeah, it's by far the biggest piece of the pie.
Wow.
I spoke with you for my Wheels Off podcast, which is fun. I don't do the numbers that some podcasts do, but I've got 220 episodes of it. I've devoted a lot of time to it. How much money have I made from it? I ask in Robert Evans fashion. Not like $50, like $100.
Wow.
Nothing, basically nothing.
Oh, a month.
No,
Or is
total.
I think you meant
my
total.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't make money off the podcast, and I've got a producer who basically works for free, and there's an editor. But yeah, no, the podcast is a thing. I do a lot of things. I've been dabbling my toe in television. I do a lot, but touring is really the only thing that pays consistently. I haven't announced this formally yet, but Mike, you and I were talking about this beforehand. I did sell a pilot script idea. I sold a show to with a couple of co-writers, one of whom is a dead ringer, Jack Burdett, who's right now show running the next season of Ted Lasso, and
Wow.
and he was 30 Rock and Modern Family, and our friend Ginny. The three of us have been working on TV shows for a few years, creating them, and then we got approached by a production company to create a TV show about country music and Nashville, which we did and sold it, partnered with 20th Century Fox, sold it to ABC. We're in development at ABC right now. And whether or not it goes to pilot or, series, God forbid, or, God willing, or whatever the proper thing to be afraid or excited about is. But there was some money, there has been some money in that as well. I'm a WGA member even, so let's go.
Wow, that's good health insurance, I understand.
So what's crazy is I took a job teaching at the New School in Manhattan because my daughter is a student at Parsons School of Design.
Oh, yeah.
And the New School owns Parsons. So I teach one songwriting class a week at the New School, and it covers her tuition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's amazing.
And as I'm now just entering my third semester of teaching, freaking healthcare just clicked in for my whole family.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
That's amazing.
I still don't believe it, so I'm knocking wood all the time. We'll see.
So let's go through the income pie because you probably hit some, but maybe you hit all of the big things. But you do a ton of different stuff. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, besides you being an old friend and someone who has had this career of incredible longevity and making it work somehow, right? So what has changed over time for you also? Like, have you ever been able to make a full-time living as a musician? Have things changed as things have gotten more precarious? Do you find yourself thinking, I've got to put all these, I'm juggling, I've got plates spinning, I've got lots of different things I need to do in order to make it work? Like, what does that look like over time for you?
I've made a full-time living as a musician since I was that's not true. I still would work in a restaurant up to about 93. So it's been 32 years of
That's amazing.
not having a job. And the extra stuff is hustling, writing the kids' books and writing for television, and I've written some for magazines, not that that's paying anybody a lot of dough. I forget what the other hustles are. Oh yeah, teaching. The benefits are good. But yeah, the full-time living that comes from music was really good in the late 90s when I was on a major label, maybe even through the late aughts. There was still kind of a lot of money just around for record labels and deals and publishing deals. That money is still there, but it's a lot more humble now, the amounts. So it's harder now. I'm still able to do it. I'm in a house right now that I've been in for 22 years this month. And I've made every mortgage payment. Had to refinance a couple of times, but whatever. It's life. I've put through two kids, halfway through college.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it goes on and on. But yeah, the hustle is real. Most of it's gig money, which means that I leave, which means that later I get to hear my now teenager, young adult kids talk about the trauma I inflicted on them by being gone so much.
Is that, let's pause on that for a second. I mean, I think that's something we haven't talked about at all because we haven't talked to a lot of people with kids, actually. which is how being in the creative economy, one of the ways it looks like we're performing success is you have all this freedom, you have all this creative fulfillment, but it does come at a cost that people who work a jobby job, as I've always thought of them, like don't see. And you may have been joking, but I'm actually really curious about like what the costs have been.
No, I mean it's true that, and I do joke about my kids sort of outlining the trauma that they survived as children, because that's inevitable now. Like kids these days, they will tell you about the trauma
Right.
that you did to them. And I'm like, you want to see trauma? Listen to the lyrics of my first 8 albums. You know, that was childhood trauma. But it is true that for me to make the living to keep us in this house and keep everybody going, I had to be gone like 200 days a year, you know,
Wow.
more than half. And and I missed them, you know, and that was what contributed eventually to drinking more and more and feeling more disassociated from my family and even just from the reality of who I wanted to be as a human being. But so we were laughing last night that when COVID landed, the timing of that and being home for those couple of years solid, it was right when my kids were, 13 and 15 years old to, for those couple of years. What a great time to not be able to leave your house, trauma from that aside. But I I do have to leave. Other musicians I know take their kids with them is a big thing.
Hmm.
So there's choices that you make as a traveling performer or as a musician or even as just a person in the spotlight when you have kids. Do you make your kids part of your story or part of your stories, as it were? Do you put their faces on your feeds? I never did. I never have. I thought, I'm not judging the people that do that, except I didn't want to be one of those people. I didn't want to have my kids with no say in the matter being used as sort of pawns in my love me, love me, love me game. So, and then kind of hand in hand with that was where do you live? And we were in LA when Erica got pregnant with our eldest, and we looked around LA, and it would have been great because I had so many friends, and the Largo scene, as you know, Mike, that Largo scene is so
Hmm.
not just the comics and musicians that are there all the time, but the people that come through and the directors and the writers and the access to Hollywood is so intense in that club that Flanagan has created. Not even a bad thing; it's actually a great thing. I would have had access to that all the time, but I didn't want to raise kids in Reseda. I didn't not nothing again against Reseda, but I didn't want my kids to have to be kind of in the game. So we moved to 3 acres in the country, north of Manhattan. You know, it's not perfect, but it's a really sweet place to raise kids. We've been in the same house. My son only ever lived in one bedroom. I mean, it's a pretty humble house. It's a raised ranch with vinyl siding. It does have a pool, and it is on 3 acres, but it's again, it's not a mansion. So those were the choices we made. But for that to work, there's no place around here I can do gigs. I'm going to drive 2.5 hours to an airport, fly 4 or 5 hours, be on tour for 3 weeks, come home. And they'll only know me as the dad in pajamas. They'll never be with me on a red carpet at in a recording studio. So I kept it very separate, and that came at some cost of time spent with them. But I do feel like it made it so they were able to have a quote unquote normal childhood.